Yeah, listen to that bell. Oh, take a look at that. Oh my God! Woo! Listen to that horn! Oh my God! Oh, she's beautiful. She is.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Jalapeno Milk. I am Mecha Stankus, formerly known as Mecha McCheese, huge ass, and accused of being Michael Oxmall. Thank you for joining us, everyone. This is the first episode of the Spinner Rack, and this show is going to be celebrating what we love in comics. Obviously, everyone knows there's a bunch of drama going around, but today we're just going to have some fun, talk about our favorite comics, and we're going to make this an open platform to just geek out on the great American art form together. If you guys want, I have a pinned tweet up on my profile at McCheese Mecca, at Mecha Stankus Pro Secrets. You can see it right here. We got a bunch of stuff to cover today. I'm talking about my favorite comic book of all time, written by one Mark Waid, who you should know from, well, you probably know him from everywhere. Yeah, I was a huge ass for a while, I promise. We're just going to, we got all these cool comic book stuff, and, it's just a positive thing. If the audience feels at any point that we're just going off topic and talking about drama, you can get that anywhere else. So we're going to go ahead and uppercut everybody out of here. But today I have with me my co-host on I Kinda Believe, Skinny. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. So we're ready to talk about some comic books.
Yeah, Zombie Nomicon, how are you today?
Very good.
Yeah, you got some duck stuff for us. Then we got Pickles, who somehow read my mind and brought up one of my favorite Hulk panels of all time. And I'm kind of salty at him, but also glad he's here for that. And very well, we got Sergeant Davidson.
Oh, hello, Americans.
Yeah, and he wants to talk to us about the Max. Is that right?
Yeah, the Max and maybe Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll talk about all that stuff. We got a little bit of interest today, and it's just something I felt we needed to do. Everyone's tired of the drama, so we're going to set the example and enjoy this stuff together. So, with that being said, I'll start off and kind of give us a blueprint for the show. My favorite comic book of all time, bar none, is Irredeemable. It's written by Mark Waid. He had a couple different artists on it. And if I'm going to give you guys the pitch, it's what if Superman had a really bad day and became evil? What would happen? So I think it's because Mark Waid, he's a writer, and for many years he wanted to be a writer for Superman. He never could do it. So I can't remember who published this. I think it was IDW or Image or something like that. And he got to do this story. I think it was about 36 issues. For me, it was a pretty quick read, and I found this when I was deployed, and I picked it up by the end of the first issue. I think I was up till 2 a.m., about halfway through the series at that point. It was just nonstop. It stars this guy named Hyperion, pictured here. Here's one particular panel I really enjoy, where this is the moment he decides that humanity is pretty much beyond repair for him. He's just tired of it at that point. And he's basically his Lois Lane found out who he was, and she freaked the hell out, and she told everybody. She went on air, and this is the moment Hyperion turns, and he was evil after that point. There's one scene, I couldn't find the exact panel, but he's got all the regular Superman powers. He's super fast. He can hear everything. One standout moment in the series is his parents who raised him, the Ma and Pa Kents of this universe. They took a vow of silence. They never spoke because they thought that they would be safe from him. He couldn't find them if they just didn't talk to each other. So they learned sign language and stuff. And for years they were just doing that kind of thing. But then he shows up at their house anyway, and he goes, "I recognize the sound of your heartbeats. I could always tell where you are." And then he obliterates them. And this was the first time I ever read a comic book where I thought to myself, this is scary, actually. I'd never read a comic book about a superhero where I had the same feelings as I did watching a horror movie. That's how intense it got. Has anyone else ever read this book?
Yes, I did.
You did? What did you think of it?
It was okay. It didn't have the same effect on me it did on you, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I thought it was well written. I definitely thought it was well written, and it's been extremely imitated ever since, which is something Mark Waid he is a leader. He's a real leader in his writing, his conceptualization. So I enjoyed reading it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if that pitch sounds familiar to you guys, there was a movie that came out not too long ago. Anyone want to guess what I'm talking about?
Brightburn.
Brightburn. Yeah, Brightburn is pretty much this movie put on the screen, or at least the first part of it. It's an evil Superman character. You know, that movie had a lot of good stuff going in on it too.
Yeah.
But
It was directed by James Gunn too.
James Gunn, yeah, and you know he's had his fair share of controversies anyway. But yeah, this is the one. If somebody's new to comic books, I always tell them check out Irredeemable. I've recommended it to my friends, people that have a real personal connection to me. This is just one of those stories that stayed with me. 10 years since I read it. I couldn't be. I wish I had better words. I could write an essay on this thing. But it's a really, really good comic book. Do you guys have any favorite Superman stories that stand out? And I count this as a Superman story for a pretty damn good reason.
I guess Speeding Bullet.
I know. Oh, is somebody talking?
Yeah. Well, can you count Speeding Bullet as a Superman story? Because it is Superman, but as Batman.
Really? I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
it's an Elseworld story.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's an actual DC continuity.
Well, DC comic, yes, DC graphic novel for sure.
Yeah, and I wish I had more panels to show you guys, but that's just kind of just to start off the show a little bit. We're losing Sergeant Davidson here and there, but he's having trouble and he'll come back. MK Geiger likes Red Sun. That's also a pretty classic story. I think they just did an animated DCU or DCEU movie on it. I don't know how well that one turned out. Man of Steel. I like Man of Steel. I don't know what everyone's controversy with that one is. Like how else are you going to kill Zod? How are you going to stop Zod from messing up?
I think there's a book called Man of Steel.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he says John Burns run on it.
But I will say that I stand with you on the movie. I kind of liked it too.
Which one?
Well,
Man of Steel.
Oh yeah.
Superhero movies are stupid anyway, so you've just got to enjoy it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got to enjoy all sorts of stuff on it, but for me, the thing that stood out to me most was it almost had a horror feel to it. And what could you really do against Superman? You spent the entirety of the run almost just waiting for that little glimmer of hope in the story, and then you finally do get it, and it just goes off the rails. I think at one point the main Superman character was living in the sun for some reason. so for me, one of my favorite things in any kind of story is when you get to that metaphysical level where you can't even comprehend exactly what's going on, and it's just you kind of just have to take all the fantastical elements of it and just enjoy it for what it is.
Would you say Irredeemable inspired Injustice?
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, I can't remember where. I think that DC kind of DC's always had this. I think it was Earth 3, where Lex Luthor was the only hero.
Yeah, the villains. Yeah, it's a world run by villains.
Yeah, and Lex Luthor is the only dude fighting the entirety of the Justice League, and that was one of the first parallel universes they went after in Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is actually my first comic book I had ever read. I don't know how I ended up on that one, but I think I was trolling GameFAQs comics. I don't know what to call it, board or something like that, and I got recommended Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I sat there at my desk. I would come home from work, and it'd be midnight by the time I got done with it. So, reading comics to me it's relatively new to me. I grew up in a pretty religious household where that kind of thing wasn't allowed, and a late bloomer, I guess, but as deep as an appreciation as I can find. And if you guys haven't read Irredeemable, there's a lot of controversy with Mark Waid these days. Don't worry about that. Just go read a good story about, a Superman that goes wrong. And, I don't know. There's a lot to talk about on it, but I just wanted to get started with it. Skinny or Pickles, you want to go next?
I'll let Skinny go first.
Yeah, Skinny, what do you got for us? Where are you at?
Now
Is
you
this
can
good?
just pull my screen up if you want to.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let me get you.
Just let me know when I'm showing.
You're showing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Warren Ellis and Declan Shalvey. I think. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about their run on Moon Knight. 'Cause it's just fucking awesome, man.
Well, okay.
Like-
I want to sound like an idiot for a second. Is Moon Knight Marvel's Batman?
No, anybody who's read Moon
Is it-
Knight knows enough to say no to that.
Because I'm not really
He's-
familiar with the character.
Because Moon Knight actually does have powers. He is like possessed by
Well, he's like an avatar of Khonshu.
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 Yeah.
And that's like a moon god or something. That's why he's the
Yeah.
moon.
It's a kind of COD version of an ancient Egyptian god
He's,
for Marvel.
protector of the travelers of the night or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Basically, I think the backstory was like he was in the desert and exploring, and he was nearly
Yeah, he was
dying.
a
And
mercenary.
Khonshu came to him and was like, "I can,
Oh,
grant
yeah,
you-"
he was a mercenary and he went out on an expedition or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then they just killed a bunch of archaeologists. And then he tried to save like the one guy's daughter at the very end. You know, he had a change of heart and ends up getting gunned down at the foot of a Khonshu statue. And then that's when Khonshu brings him back to life, but enters him as a vessel. And it's debated on whether or not he actually had multiple personalities before this incident, or if the multiple personalities thing is just a side effect of being possessed by an Egyptian god.
Okay, so it's not just this is a millionaire playboy guy with a bunch of time to do it. He's actually. Is it a question of he's actually possessed by this god or not?
He's not
In
possessed by
some
him.
comics it is, but in others, I would say honestly, no, he's definitely possessed.
Yeah.
If you've read this far into it, yes, he is. But
So what got you excited about Warren Ellis's run?
he's just an awesome writer, and mostly, this is gonna sound a little silly, but the whole run, for the most part, is just these separated stories.
Okay.
And you could just you could pick up number 3 of the run or anything like that, and you'd still have the same story. Well, not the same story. You'd have one from beginning to end. There's no nonsense going on. But it was just great. Like, the art was spot on. How Warren Ellis wrote Moon Knight.
Uh-huh.
Like, he just beat the ever living shit out of this guy. I got some of the pages of him just completely railing on this guy. And then he comes down to this panel right here and he just says, "Listen, where you're going, tell your friends, tell everyone you meet, you tell them all. When you see me coming, run."
Dude, the way you're talking about that is just funny. That's awesome, dude.
I love Moon Knight. Like, that's why I haven't read a lot. And here's an example of one of the just really well done pages right here.
Yeah. Who's the artist on this again?
Declan Shalvey.
Declan Shalvey. We'll have to see what else he's done.
Yeah, he's got something going right now called Body Bogs or something like that.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, that's the 3 pages I got.
MK Geiger says he was more of a rip on the Shadow.
Well, sort of. He started off as a villain of the month in Werewolf by Night. So he had silver weapons because he was fighting a werewolf.
Yeah, his whole suit was silver.
And silver damages werewolves. So
He was a total
it's a bit like Wolverine in the Hulk. Wolverine started off in the Hulk as a throwaway villain of the month. And like Wolverine, Moon Knight took on a life of his own. He had a new retconned origin. Sometimes they say that his strength waxes and wanes with the moon. Sometimes he's a multiple personality disorder sufferer and so on. But you could say the same thing about Batman or a lot of other characters. Like, there's been a lot of different versions of him now, and he is definitely popular. I have no idea what the Disney show is going to be like.
Is there a Disney show coming out of this guy?
Oh,
They're doing a Disney Plus show.
Wow. Yeah.
There's even a little bit of rumors that there's going to be a werewolf angle to that. You see.
Really?
Yep.
So, all right, I've never really read a Moon Knight. should I wait for the Disney show or just dive into a
Dive
Dive into
in.
the comics.
Just dive
Yeah.
in.
And he was in the West Coast Avengers as well.
Oh, okay. Skinny, you backed Kevin Sharp's Dragon Guard recently, and what character did you pick for him?
I had him draw Moon Knight from the Warren Ellis run.
Did
Which
you?
I just call him Mr. Knight because that's what he goes by in that run. Like when he's got his
Yeah,
suit.
when he
and
wears
just
the suit.
mask.
Oh, hello, Michael Oxmall. Thanks for coming. Yeah, it should be interesting to see the Disney thing. Yeah, Dragon Guard, Kevin Sharp, he's wrapping up today or tomorrow. But if you backed his book during his streams, he would draw you a sketch of whatever character you wanted. And Skinny got a really good looking Mr. Knight from him.
Yeah.
You know, and Skinny is as long as I've known him that he's talked to me about Moon Knight many times, even if I didn't want him to.
Yeah.
And
It's
please
called
call.
Moon Rape.
Yeah. What's this panel you got here? Is this like one of the most well-known panels?
That's just one that I randomly pulled up from Google that just happens to be from that run. But that's if you actually, let me pull it up on my Twitter because I can't read it from there.
Yeah.
I don't have it memorized.
You know, we should do like the writer streaming. We should voice act this a little bit. Anyway, if you can't see it on the screen, it says, "You're crazy." It's been said. Also, I hate to be the one to point this out, but wearing a white suit, he's kind of going to see you coming. And Moon Knight says, "That's the part I like."
I know, that's why I love this character, man. He's so badass. He's like, I want him to see me coming.
Yeah, because so he's different from Batman in that regard too. Because Batman, there's that old classic line of who would win, Batman with time to plan or Obi-Wan with the high ground. You know, it's that much of a meme. Does Moon Knight have that kind of element to him too?
Yeah, I would say so.
Oh, do you have that panel that Moon Knight's gonna fight Douglas Ernst?
Oh, let's see. I don't know if I can find the panel. I didn't pull it up on YouTube. I got the physical issues though. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
All right, yeah. So let's see, where are we at? Skinny, or excuse me, Pickles. Where's the Pickles? It's let me ask you this: is Hulk your favorite character?
What gave it away?
Everything you put in here is the Hulk. Now, Pickles picked one of my favorite panels in any comic book, and I do my best to try to look like the Hulk as much as I can. And this one is this is something I told my dad about. He doesn't read comic books; he doesn't understand it. But I was trying to explain to him why this resonated with me so much. And if you can't read it, it says, "Hulk is only one there is. Only one there is. Hulk feels cold." You know, I can't tell you how many times that's been like a kind of an emotional landmark for me.
It's kind of beautiful in a way, because Hulk throughout the nearly 6 decades of history, it's always been Hulk wants to be alone, or wants to be left alone, and whatnot. And in this Elseworld story, he's finally alone. Everyone on Earth is dead, and Bruce Banner's mind deteriorates and dies. So he's left alone, and then he realizes that he didn't actually want to be alone. That's how that read off to me.
Yeah.
I won't like, it kind of bummed me out after I read it, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And if people want to know, I think Peter David wrote it, and Dale Keown drew it. But yeah, I think the Incredible Hulk: The End is probably one of the best stories of the Hulk there is.
I agree with you, man. It's the whole thing is kind of like, what's the logical conclusion of the Hulk? And I think at this point in the story, and spoiler alert to anyone watching, this point in the story, he's pretty much the last anything on Earth.
Yeah, there's only like those giant cockroaches that eat him at night.
Yeah, and Hulk with his regeneration powers comes back, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of almost like a Prometheus story. He brought humanity the flame of knowledge, or the knowledge of fire, and he would get his liver picked out every night, and it would grow back. I think so. I think that's kind of part of what makes that was kind of the inspiration for the Hulk this story. Oh, it looks like we got some people adding stuff to the thread. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, that.
Hey, I just want to point out, I did find it.
You did find it?
Yeah.
What
yeah.
is it?
Uh,
Let me make you full screen. So if you guys don't know Douglas Ernst, I think this is somebody that didn't really like him that wrote this book, right?
Yeah, it was Max Bemis. They argued on Twitter that, like, they based this entire old dude who's a villain. He's an ex-Nazi who, like, disguised himself as a Jew while still killing Jews.
Okay.
And, yeah, the guy's just fucking crazier than shit, but his name is Douglas Ernst.
Okay, so he says no Ernst, and then what happens? What's that last thing? Does he scream out the name?
Yeah, it's like Ernst.
Ernst.
Like, his name in earlier issues, it goes over it. But
Oh wow, that's funny. That's funny. We're not gonna get into the drama too much, but that's pretty hilarious.
it is, but I will say that despite that, that was actually a pretty gnarly run on Moon. They introduced a new villain for him. It was actually Ra, which is technically Khonshu's father, which is the god of the sun. It's really interesting.
I would say that I agree with Grievich in the chat saying Immortal Hulk is the best shit of modern Marvel.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
I agree with that because I think it's even better than the Venom run. You know,
the Donny
Cates. Yeah. And I don't know if people know, but I kissed Donny Cates' ass so bad. But I love the Immortal Hulk run.
Yeah, it's good.
For me, it started off a bit shaky, but when it picked up, it really picked up.
Yeah, one of the panels that stood out to me on the I'm going to try to pull it up right now in the Immortal Hulk run was when they cut up the Hulk into a bunch of different glass models. Oh, yeah. Let me see if I can find that.
I like how they got loose and kind of morphed around the scientist.
Yeah, I'll just see if I can pull up that panel. Zombie, you added this to the thread. What's up with this cover?
Is that the Hulk 226?
Yeah, it's got like an orange background, big monster on campus.
That's my favorite issue of the Incredible Hulk. He goes back to the university Bruce Banner studied at during the student riots. And that guy on the front is the dean. He's the administrator of the university, who everybody else is fleeing. And his assistant says he should flee as well. And he said, no, I was here during the race riots and I was here during the Vietnam protests, so I'm going to stay here now. And he goes and tries to confront the Hulk. But if you look at what the Hulk is smashing, it's a statue of Socrates. And the Hulk sees the statue of Socrates and stares at it. And Socrates is just staring back at him. And at the bottom of the statue, it has carved, "Know thyself." And the Hulk starts yelling at the statue and breaking it down. But the "know thyself" survives. And the commentary in the narration boxes says that there are some things that nothing can destroy. Not even the Hulk, not even hemlock, which is the poison that Socrates was forced to commit suicide by taking. And it ends up with the Hulk collapsing, crying next to the statue and turning back into Bruce Banner. This is when Bruce Banner has his nervous breakdown. It's the first time in the Hulk continuity that they acknowledge the broken sort of nature of Bruce Banner way before the later retcons and stuff. Just that the rage must come from Bruce Banner. It's the very first time they touch on that.
Yeah, the Hulk is simultaneously, to me, the dumbest character and then also the smartest.
Well, he's actually has been the smartest because of the extremis and stuff of the extremis implant in his head.
Yeah, I'm talking about all this like psychological stuff and hemlock, and it's amazing how deep you can really get with the character. Honestly, he's so much more than just big green smash guy.
Well, because he's a monster character, he's a tragic monster.
Well, yeah, he started out as kind of a Frankenstein.
Well, more of a Jekyll Hyde. Jekyll Hyde, and
Yeah.
and the Frankenstein element came from the mad science. But originally, way back in the 1962 version, when the sun set, his pulse would race, and his radiation level would raise, and he'd turn into the brute, the Hulk, and then go rampaging. But he was still somewhat intelligent, but just more malevolent, like Mr. Hyde.
Well, that's
Well,
funny you mentioned.
it's like
because-
how the Immortal Hulk is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. In the Immortal Hulk, the Hulk comes out at night, and I think that's the first time in a long time I heard of a Hulk book doing that. And this is what me and Pickles were just talking about. They kept the Hulk in a bunch of glass containers things, and the scientist is messing with them. And this is what makes me call this book a body horror. All these glass things around the lab, they break, and the Hulk reforms himself and basically sucks this doctor that was antagonizing him into the Hulk's body. It's pretty nasty. I don't know if they ever explored body horror with the Hulk before, but it's pretty wild,
I don't
man.
think to that extent. No.
I will say, McGeiger makes a point there. Well, they had Mr. Fix-It, Smart Hulk, etc.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of few dumb Hulks, which is mainly Savage Hulk.
Mhm.
When you hit the other personas, they all seem to be either average intelligence or quite smart.
Yeah. Let's see. What's this panel? What's going on in this panel? Is that Reed Richards' face?
That's the end of World War Hulk.
Okay.
And basically, he took out every single superhero.
Even fought in the Century.
Yeah, it's the follow-up to. Have you ever heard of Planet Hulk?
Yeah, that's kind of what the Ragnarok movie was based around, or took inspiration from, if I'm not mistaken.
It's kind of nothing like that, but it's so basically Hulk gets abandoned on a different planet,
Yeah.
and he's kept as a barbarian, and everyone's kind of like equal in strength with him, and he's forced to fight in a pit to survive. And at the end of it, he becomes the king of this country and on this planet. And the ship that he was tricked to go on explodes, and it kills his wife and unborn children.
That was the Illuminati, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was
So-
made up of Reed Richards and I can't remember who else.
Professor X, Doctor Strange, Tony Stark,
Yeah,
all those lot. So the Hulk blames them and goes back to Earth in World War Hulk to get his revenge, basically.
Mhm.
And as the story goes on, he's just getting angrier and angrier. And what happens here is basically he actually calms down, but one of his friends from Sakaar stabs Rick Jones and reveals he was the one. Well, he didn't blow up the ship, but he saw these people carry a bomb onto the ship, but didn't tell Hulk. And that's where Hulk just loses his mind, because then he's like, I can't trust anybody, and he just basically says, I hate you all, and he just stamps on the floor, and it shakes the entirety of like the eastern seaboard of America.
Yikes.
And it's funny enough because because he actually takes out Sentry as well.
Yeah, who was struck with the void at that point, I think.
He wasn't the Void at that point,
Oh, okay.
but basically, he also took out Doctor Strange. He took out the entire of the Avengers and the entire X-Men.
Was this the point at which the Hulk was the absolute strongest? Because I see a lot of versus
No.
thread, and they're like, "Oh, this is World War Hulk levels, basically."
No, at this point in time, yes, he was the strongest.
Did
But
you
a
see a
few-
Planet Breaker Hulk too?
Well,
Planet Breaker.
it's World Breaker Hulk. A few months later, because he gets locked up and stuff and he gets released, he says he was holding back during this event. And then they go into a storyline called Heart of a Monster Hulk, and he gets that mad that he gets abandoned in the Dark Dimension, and to fight Red She-Hulk forever and ever, where their punches destroy planets and stuff like that. when they come back, Fin Fang Foom is basically gamma powered and hovering over New York. When they come back, to just stamp on him. So they were
So-
like the size of skyscrapers.
It's interesting juxtaposition. You're talking about power levels and breaking planets and stuff. And when we were talking to Zombie about this, he's talking about who is a Plato zombie in this one?
Socrates.
Socrates. Yeah, in this one, it's kind of a juxtaposition. Zombie, like when you look for a good Hulk story, you found this one. What do you think of that? What Pickles was talking about with this World War Hulk storyline? Is that a victim of power scaling, or is this just the natural evolution of the character?
Well, the funny thing about the Planet Hulk stuff is it's a combination of earlier Hulk stories, just sort of updated, because he already had a wife, Jarella, in the microverse realm, and that was sword and sorcery or planetary romance as well. But I thought Planet Hulk was good, very good, but it just should have gone on. I thought bringing him back and then having him on this revenge kick, it's a little bit like the lead up to Hulk 300, where Nightmare had made him mindless and all the rest of it, and Doctor Strange banished him to the crossroads in the Nexus of Realities. It's a little bit old hat, but I suppose that the Hulk 300 stuff was so long ago that it was fair enough to redo it. But I thought the World War Hulk, I didn't love it, but I thought it was okay to read. And then the Red Hulk War, there was another one called World War Hulk, or like a Red Hulk, World War Hulk version where they fight each other.
Was it World War Hulks?
Something like that. I knew what they were going to do. It was pretty obvious, and they did it. I still thought it was good because it reinvigorated the character. But it did in the end suffer from power inflation, mainly through lazy writing more than anything. But then it was more of a summer blockbuster approach with spectacle and splash pages, wasn't it? So you've got to judge it for what it was. And as what it was, I think it was very successful and very enjoyable. But if you're looking for some of the more Shakespearean Hulk stories, there was none of that in it at all. None of that.
So, I think that's a testament to the quality of the character. And most of these characters, Batman just had its 75th anniversary and stuff, and I'm sure these Marvel comics are coming up on milestones like that. It's just a testament to how good these characters are. One thing that I'll never walk away from the big two is I'm not giving up Batman. I'm not giving up the Hulk. I'll always want to hear what these characters are up to in their stories.
I think the exception to what you just said, which I agree with, would be Spider-Man, because they've come as mortally close as they can to permanently ruining that character. I think the basic Peter Parker Spider-Man is as good as any of the others, but the way they've warped it and messed with it now, I just think I don't know. It's lost something now. It's become too political.
MK Geiger says 2010 World War Hulks was the red one. Now the Red Hulk was like a what's his name? Ross, General Ross turned out to be the Red Hulk.
Yes, and that itself was an editorial change, because to begin with, it could have been Major Glenn Talbot, and a lot more credibly and logically. But it is what it is.
Didn't Talbot end up becoming Red Hulk a few years ago?
The original "Who is the Red Hulk" ongoing mystery. It was they revealed it to be Thunderbolt Ross, complete with disappearing moustache, and then they made it Talbot. Which what the hell, man? But anyway, again, it is what it is.
What's going on in this picture, Pickles?
That's from Immortal Hulk.
Immortal Hulk? Oh, what is he like punching a planet? What is this?
Yeah, the story of what's going on with Immortal Hulk at the moment, that he's connected to the one below it all.
Ooh, what is the one below?
It's basically the opposite of the one above all.
Which is like the...
Jack Kirby.
That goes all the way back to Jack Kirby?
No, Jack Kirby is the one above all, like when the Fantastic Four met him.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's probably some deep lore.
So basically during this, it kind of takes place in the future, and the one above all approaches the Hulk, and he's like, well, what are you doing here? And next to Hulk is a dead, is he called Mr. Invincible or something like that? He's just a guy that just can't die.
Yeah.
And he's just like, the Hulk killed him. And he's like, how did he do it? And he's like, the same way I killed Galactus and Franklin Richards 5 billion years ago. And he's like, how? And he basically, the Hulk comes out of Bruce Banner's body, and like grabs the one above all and eats him. And what follows on here is the next universe, because the Hulk, killed everything in the previous universe. And in this timeline, he's killing this universe as well as like a Galactus Hulk.
Wow.
Galactus.
So yeah, this right here is him punching the last planet of the next universe.
So did the Immortal Hulk finish at this point, or is it still going?
No, because at this point, one of the citizens on that planet goes back in time to try and stop it from happening. Something like that.
And he's punching planets into dust.
Yeah. So now we're kind of back in present day, and this hasn't happened. Yeah, I thought it was crazy.
Yeah, it looks crazy. Is this Spider-Man here in the middle of it?
I doubt it, because, like I said, it's in that took place in the next universe.
Well, look, there's the Spider-Man eye socket. It's a head. It's red and black. It looks. Am I just seeing things?
I think you're seeing things. I can't see it.
Maybe I'm crazy. Yeah. So yeah, man, the Hulk is such a good character. I don't know what to say on that one.
If he's given a good writer.
Yeah. Let's see, Zombie. Which one do you want me to pull up from you?
I don't mind. There's the Cursed Earth from Judge Dredd, and there's the Howard the Duck.
Okay, you got to explain to me the duck stuff, because I don't go to a comic book looking for ducks. Like, what's the appeal of this guy, Howard the Duck? And I say this. There was a really bad movie that came out, before my time, and I always heard that they filmed it close to where I grew up, which is how I was even aware of it.
Right. So Howard the Duck appeared, first of all, he appeared in a panel when a wizard character in a Man-Thing issue was explaining about a cosmic overlapping of 1 million different worlds, which really meant 1 million different parallel worlds or universes. And Howard was just shown as one humanoid animal character on a planet of them. And the wizard said that this overlapping of worlds would continue. It made it possible for demons to invade the earth, and so on. So it was going to go along as a fairly standard sword and sorcery story in a Man-Thing comic with a barbarian main hero. And editor Roy Thomas approved that story. That direction for Man-Thing was very unpopular. But in 2 pages of that story, Howard the Duck walks out from some bushes and surprises Man-Thing, the barbarian swordsman, and the other adventurers who were on the quest, and basically tags along with them because he's another hero from another world. So you ended up with this very strange selection of characters. It goes on. Roy Thomas, who was the editor, said, kill this duck off. This is just crap. This doesn't fit Marvel Comics at all, and I don't think it'll be popular. It's going to drop people out of the story completely. But in fact, so as instructed, Steve Gerber had them all walking along floating footsteps in interdimensional darkness. Howard falls off the flagstone to his apparent death, but he was extremely popular, as popular or more popular than Man-Thing himself, and certainly more popular than the other supporting characters. So they spun him off into his own comic, which is in mainstream Marvel Earth continuity. There is no separation. There is no filter. He meets Spider-Man. He briefly encounters Daredevil and Black Widow. He meets other characters. His characters overlap back. And because Gerber was writing several different books like Defenders and Daredevil, Howard the Duck turns up in Defenders. So he's in mainstream continuity. And and Gerber also wrote Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's why Howard the Duck turned up in the Guardians of the Galaxy film. What I always liked about Howard the Duck, and I think a lot of people did, the original run, was it was very adult. It was more of a Mad Magazine social commentary comic, but it never quite crossed over into just being, sort of clumsy analogy. He still had actual adventures, even though his supervillains are all completely weird. It's very peculiar. But you had a Marvel Monster style comic book in terms of art. You had superhero plotting in terms of story, and the central character was a humanoid duck trapped in a world he never made. And in the first year of this, it only really lasted a year before it hit delays, and Gerber nearly had a nervous breakdown himself. Howard the Duck slowly but surely has a nervous breakdown. He doesn't actually cope with Marvel Earth at all. He doesn't cope with its morality. He doesn't cope with its arbitrary violence. He doesn't cope with superpowers. He really doesn't cope with any of the things that are normal for a superhero world at all. But he still tries to have adventures. And it just stuck with me ever since. It's very grown up. It's as grown up as it could be at the time and get away with it. And it's very much like Steve Gerber's Defenders, where he had the elf with a gun. You have these bizarre, arbitrary, what would you say, fantasy elements. But for people who like it, it really works. The later Howard the Duck comics just are nowhere near as good because they don't treat him as being real, whereas the original run, he's literally just treated like a character as real as Spider-Man or anybody else.
And he was actually in the Gwenpool runs when she first came into the real Marvel universe. She ran into him because he was the detective and stuff like that. So that was always, he turned into a very much like I don't know who came first, him or Detective Chimp. But he
Detective
he's
Detective Chimp.
Right. He's almost kind of like Marvel's answer to a Detective Chimp.
Wow.
And you see that can never really work properly because Howard the Duck was directly based on the guy who wrote him, Steve Gerber. He lived in the same shitty places. He had the same inability to keep a job and all the rest of it. And when you give him too heroic a quest, he does go on heroic quests, and he does do it because he's heroic, but he always justifies it in a new left, somewhat progressive kind of way, and he makes excuses for why he's being heroic, like, well, somebody's got to do it because this is just wrong and it's got to be stopped. And if I don't do it, then somebody else will just make a mess of it. So he was heroic with anti-heroic elements. Mm-hmm. And just because he was a humanoid duck, he could get away with stuff no other comic could get away with. I don't mean in terms of humor. I mean in terms of content at the time that would, because it was still the comic code, that would never normally have been approved.
Right.
For attempted rape, incest, things like that.
Wow.
It was a horror comic. It was a horror comic.
Yeah.
This looks like 70s art style.
1976 through to 1978.
Yeah. And I think this is like when comic books were really starting to, develop as well past some of the limitations of the 60s. I don't know if that's because of printer paper quality or printing techniques or something, but it's it's kind of
storm. Perfect storm. And they had their monster comics, and they were ending their run. But you had a and the other thing about Howard the Duck is Marvel Comics had its university audience. DC kept doing the old-fashioned recycling golden age. Just kids read them, endlessly cycling through the same stories, and new kids would come and read it. Marvel's audience had grown up through high school to university, so Howard the Duck is in the vanguard of the university readership comics, and it's the young editor, the young artist, and the young writer doing it. So you have this beautiful 70s style art, which they'd used on things like Dracula, they used on Howard the Duck. And for some reason, because remember, it spun out a Man-Thing. So it had the Man-Thing team on it. So it still looks like a horror comic.
Yeah, it does. I never could imagine you get that kind of ideas out of a duck character. I usually see. I see Howard the Duck and I just roll my eyes and go about my business because I hate anthropomorphic stuff. But that's really interesting. I might have to go and read some of these. If you had to recommend to our audience a place to start with Howard the Duck after hearing you talk about it so excitedly like you did, where would they start?
Journey into Fear, it's actually just called Fear by then, number 19, which is a Man-Thing comic, and then read the 3 issues of that, and then start with Howard the Duck number 1 through to Howard the Duck Annual number 1. After that, it's still good, but the fraying around the edges has begun. So you still have things like Hell Cow, which is a cow that was bitten by Dracula when he needed to drink blood and he couldn't find a human victim, so it becomes a vampire cow. There's the Space Turnip, which eats the brain of a science fiction author and takes him over, gives him superpowers. But that first year, that was Steve Gerber. I mean, the thing about Steve Gerber, when he was interviewed at the time, said, you've got to understand 2 things about Marvel Comics. Howard the Duck, they never wanted him to be popular, and Spider-Man is a bullshit comic. So his point, which I agree with, is Howard the Duck and Batman, for example, there's nothing inherently less silly about one or the other of them. They're both absolutely silly ideas. It's just entirely how you write it and how you get the readership to look at it. And unlike a lot of fantasy characters, Howard the Duck is completely explained in a science fiction way. A crossover of dimensions lets a creature from a parallel world enter the human-dominated Marvel Earth.
Huh.
So
what
it's
went wrong with that movie?
It wasn't properly supervised by the studio back then, and they figured that George Lucas, coming off all of his hits, couldn't mess it up.
It's safe to say they did then.
But it's only just been cancelled. It was going to be a Hulu show. It's only just, and thank goodness they didn't go ahead with what they were talking about, but it was only just cancelled. It was that close to being made. And now you see, I mean, bear in mind, if there's no Howard the Duck, there's no TMNT.
Right. No, there's no Cerberus.
No.
Huh.
Nope. It's that simple.
Man, I'm going to have to go read Howard the Duck, I guess.
Look, for purists and Steve Gerber experts, you just read the original stuff, like with all Gerber stuff, and then you walk away. Don't read the later ones. Don't read the fill-in issues. Don't read the Marvel Zombie stuff, because some of it's really good, but it's still a pale imitation of the original. It's so much the man who created him putting himself into it. It damn near killed him to write it.
And they don't have like a Masterworks collection or anything like that.
Because, like he said, they never wanted it to be popular from the moment it was popular.
I mean, you do have Howard the Duck, the complete collection volumes, but it's not like a Masterworks edition or
no
edition.
No, and it ignores all the stuff like Howard the Duck for President and all the rest of it that was huge at the time.
Wow. Damn it, Zombie! Now you got me wanting to read about ducks. What the fuck?
Well, you could at least taste it. You don't have to embrace it as the guiding principle of your existence or anything. But I mean, it's impossible to ignore the fact that he's a mainstream Marvel character. He's been in one of their friggin' movies, for heaven's sake.
He was in the ending of Endgame too. If you looked hard enough.
Yeah, that's right.
So tell me about
that's exactly what he was like in the comics too. Like he just kept turning up.
So tell me about this Judge Dredd thing you got here. I'm more aware of Dredd, and I was a big fan of the 2012 Carl Urban movie. I thought that was pretty good.
Right. So 2000 AD was a 1970s founded English comic. Comes out weekly. They print them they used to print them on old-fashioned pulp paper, so the originals just rot away like compost. It was just one story amongst many in each weekly issue. And it was often the most popular, but the first time it really blew up was a long story called The Cursed Earth. And before the Secret Wars and the big crossovers in American comics that Jim Shooter claims he invented, Judge Dredd in 2000 AD, The Cursed Earth, was created to sell the toys, which you can see drawn at the top of that page. The thing called the Killdozer, right? That was a Matchbox. That was a Matchbox Cars toy set that we all had, and
Wow.
so the Cursed Earth went on week to week, week to week, week to week. A vaccine has to be taken from Megacity 1 to Megacity 2 to cure a plague that turns people into cannibal zombies. And so they go across the post-nuclear disaster America week by week. They do things like see the updated version of Mount Rushmore, which has got Jimmy Carter's face cut into it. They fight Colonel Sanders and his genetically engineered and android corporate mascots. So they fight the Jolly Green Giant and the Alka-Seltzer boys, and then they end up fighting war robots and so on. It's just an amazing, unbelievable epic. It's one of the best single, and bearing in mind they brought it out weekly, one of the best single comic book stories ever. It's just an absolute.
It's got this like the timeline too, right? Like Judge Dredd ages in real time.
Yes, he does.
And,
So-
And as you discover, he's actually the clone of the greatest lawman. So they keep trying to clone him and replace him because he has his brother. He has his brother, who's like his evil twin, really, like his evil counterpart. But Cursed Earth is literally every single week they hit some new thing. Like they hit the dinosaurs that have escaped from a dinosaur park. Remember, this is mid 70s to late 70s.
Yeah.
This isn't a rip-off of Jurassic Park. There was no such thing. So the dinosaurs escaped, and they have to deal with them, and they have to deal with the genetically restored version of a character from another 2000 AD strip, intelligent Tyrannosaurus Rex called Satanus. They fight the updated mafia in Las Vegas. They fight robot vampires, which are sucking people's blood to give to the last president of the United States to keep him alive. It's a little bit like, for American readers, I guess, Kamandi, but this one was carried through, not interrupted, punched above its weight class to the absolute end of the story. It's fantastic.
and
And you had
Brian
you had
Boland was
Brian-
the artist.
you had Brian Boland art every other week on average. So it was just amazing and extremely violent, which is great. It's one of those sort of stories. They just blast their way through, as they should.
And this is an English comic
Yep.
from England.
2000 AD is where Alan Moore and a lot of other of the usual suspects either got their start or did most of their work in England. And the same with a lot of the artists. So people who like Vertigo, if you would probably like the early 2000 AD, because that's where they were mapping out what became their future tricks of the trade, really.
Yeah.
But Cursed Earth is like Damnation Alley on steroids. It's got the original version of all of the technology for Judge Dredd before they updated it, like his Lawgiver and the Lawmaster motorcycle and all the rest of it. And instead of him outgunning most of his enemies, the overwhelming numbers of monsters and all the rest of it, he has his work cut out for him, to put it mildly.
That's awesome. Geiger, welcome to the stream. I know you've been talking already, but did you post anything on the thread you want us to look at?
Oh no, is there? I guess
Yeah, there's this. If you guys want to participate, and you don't have to come on the stream. If you're just in the audience, we'll try to talk about what you showed us. But here's my pinned tweet, Spinner Rack. We're just dropping our favorite comic, anything in here, and we're talking about it and just enjoying the art firm for what it is, trying to avoid the drama.
Yeah.
Just enjoy this stuff, because this is the American art form. It's a wonderful way to enjoy stuff, stories, and I'm just getting inspired hearing Pickles and Zombie talk about their favorite stuff, and we're gonna try to make it an open platform every week. And I put the link in the chat when we started, and I'll put it again if somebody wants to come in. But let's see,
I'll jump off as well to make room.
Yeah, well, we haven't got anyone in the backstage yet, so stay on, please.
Oh, okay.
Listen, Horatius Cockles, he talked his favorite he would want to talk about is Batman: The Long Halloween. Have you guys read this one?
I
Yes,
feel so bad
yeah.
about it. I know about it, but I've not read it.
There's a lot of good. Jeff Loeb is a name I recognize.
Yeah.
Is this a good Batman story?
It is. I think it is.
If memory serves me right, there's a twist at the end, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably took with every Batman story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys like Batman with short ears or long ears?
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Different.
Yeah.
I really
Jim Aparo too long and
think
sort of.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go on, man.
I just say I think it depends on the suit.
Yeah.
Depends on the artist.
I
I'm
personally
just
like.
grabbing some panels to put up for it.
Yeah, definitely. And Geiger, as soon as you post something, let me know. We'll give you the floor next, the microphone. Michael Oxmall gives us, I don't know what this is, Wolverine? No, Wildcats, Golden Age. It's pretty cool stuff. This is like, I want to say this is like overly, is this like digital art?
Which
I
one?
couldn't tell you.
Is my screen still showing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we got somebody joining us. Horatius
Cool.
Kokul, welcome to the stream.
Excellent.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, no worries.
Seen you on the in the chat a bunch, man. Thanks for coming on. Let's see, where were you at? The Long Halloween, and Zombie's getting some more panels to throw up too.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
grab
I've got
some
some
long Halloween.
panels.
Okay.
I've got some panels in the
Oh,
thread.
okay. Yeah, let's see. Let me see if I can find them.
Oh, they're under my comment. The other comment.
The one you already posted.
I'll put them in the direct thread. Hang on.
Yeah.
Have you got a favourite issue, mate?
Not really. Just the entire graphic novel. Really.
All right. Well, I'll grab some from 7 and I'll grab some from 13. How's that sound?
Too easy.
Okay. I'll just do that now while you're talking.
Yeah. So let me get that one up. Let's see. Oh, Batman, The Long Halloween, Jeff Loeb. So, what's your favorite part of The Long Halloween then, Cockles?
I just love the whole story really because it's more of that classic Batman tale of when he was more of a detective as opposed to a superhero. I feel like a lot of like newer Batman comics, you know, he seems a bit overpowered. Like he's in Tom King's run, he was riding on the back of that jumbo jet in issue 1.
Right.
Whereas in this, he's more just a street level detective, more like his classic roots.
Yeah, it looks like he has like a regular skin tight suit, not a Iron Man suit of armor or something like that. That Batman inevitably ends up in for video games and other media. And
Yeah, I enjoy the shadowing too on a lot of the faces by Tim Sale. Makes it feel really dark.
kind of Norrish, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little bit
post
like
some
Frank
panels.
Miller, isn't it? Like it's sort of, he's heading down the Frank Miller path, isn't he, with some of these pages?
Yeah.
Or don't you
Yeah.
think so?
I think definitely inspired by Frank Miller.
Hikaru,
I
get out!
I don't mean a slavish copy, but yeah, like he's. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to upload some pages to show it.
Hikaru, get out!
Yeah, I put some panels in there. I think they're under my initial tweet with the cover. I replied
Right.
to that with some panels.
Okay.
I think the thread
If you
works
can't-
good for the show. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm just putting him in the main thread so people can scroll through it as well.
Yeah, let me see. This one, Cockles?
Yeah, it should be in there.
Let's see. And then it looks like Geiger, you put up some Spider Woman. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, we'll give you the floor next. Okay, so this is am I saying your name right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
It's
I think
not
I
my
called
real name, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I think I called you Cockles in the other stream.
That's all right. Tug
So-
called me Cuckless,
Yeah.
so it's all good.
Looks like so you're talking about the faces being like kind of Norrish, and he looks like this Batman's the longer ear kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I just love that bottom panel where it's like looking up at Commissioner Gordon, Harvey Dent, and Batman.
Oh yeah.
So, I think Christopher Nolan, who done the Batman films, actually mentioned that this comic inspired a lot of that,
Mhm.
Yep,
a lot of the imagery.
you can
Yep.
tell. You can tell. Which is great.
Yeah,
It's a great story. So.
How did you find the Long Halloween? Or
I'm
yeah.
not really a big comic book guy. I actually only found comic books through through your boy Zach.
Yeah.
But I always loved Batman from the Tim Burton films and the old animated series. And once I'd kind of watched all the cartoons, all the movies, and played all the video games, kind of just wanted more. So then I just started slowly gathering all the graphic novels over the years. But The Long Halloween was the first one I bought and ever read, and it's probably my favorite to date.
So, what would you say are like your top 3 Batman stories then? The ones that you've read.
Well, I like The Long Halloween. I also like Dark Victory, which is like a sort of a follow-up sequel to this story.
Oh,
And there's another one by Dan Slott, actually. I can't remember the name of it, but it's set in Arkham Asylum, and it sets up the villain, the Great White Shark. That was a decent story too. But,
Did you ever
yeah,
read
I've got
The Killing Joke?
The Killing Joke. I do have The Killing Joke. That's the one where he shoots Barbara Gordon through the spine. Pretty sure, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read
Right,
that
well.
one. Yeah. I like
one-
a lot of the artwork in that one.
the Killing Joke would have been great in my opinion if it wasn't talked about all the time.
Yeah, well, that's.
If you
that
want
was
to smart,
talked
if you
up a
want to
lot.
sound smart about comics, I guess you go to the Killing Joke, right?
It isn't like I agree that the Long Halloween is probably a better read than the Killing Joke, because what the Long Halloween does, it really introduces a lot of Batman's villains in small vignettes and dealing with the mob, which he's known for. The Killing Joke, you have to know a little bit of the history of the characters to enjoy it, and when he shoots Barbara and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I enjoy the Long Halloween more so between those two.
Yeah, I love how it's that sort of classic sort of clash between like the old guard villains of Gotham, like the mob, versus the the more traditional Batman villains in his rogues gallery.
Yep.
Yes, interesting.
It always reminded me of a real life quote from Mickey Cohen, who was part of the Mickey Mouse Mafia, the part of the mafia from Hollywood and Los Angeles. And he, in real life, said that old fashioned gangsters were getting run out of town by freaks. And if that, whatever he meant, it wasn't about Batman villains, but it's so perfect for a superhero world because he's saying freaks are unpredictable, chaotic, they don't respect family values. The more freaks you got, the worse it is for gangsters. And the Long Halloween, I mean, you could put that quote at the beginning of it. That would be.
Yep.
I'm pretty
exactly
sure
right.
Carmine Falcone does quote
I think
talk
he does
about that
something
throughout
like
the
that.
book.
Yeah.
Is that right? I don't remember that. Bloody hell.
Yeah, he talks about the freaks taking over.
Oh, there you go. That's Mickey Cohen in real life. Sorry, I've got to answer this. I'll mute myself. Sorry. Sorry.
Let's see.
I'll suggest a comment to read to the chat. It's one fact. Whenever I've mentioned it, people hate it, but I like it. It's Joker by Brian Azzarello.
Joker.
If anyone's, it's a Joker story. It's basically from the perspective of one of his goons, and the Joker is drawn like the Heath Ledger Joker. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like he's like hooked on pills and all kinds of other crazy shit.
Yeah, you see a different side to the Joker. It's a lot darker and more, I guess, more realistic a little bit.
Yeah, because he has like nervous breakdowns and shit.
Did you guys read the Harleen?
Oh yeah, that's why I invited you on. You were talking about what's her name? Punchline is the new character.
Yeah, Punchline is a new villain for Batman coming out in the Joker War. And all that. I forgot what issue number it's going to be, but there is going to be a Punchline versus Harley.
Oh,
fight,
of course.
So.
Yeah.
But it's people are speculating big on that whole run of the Joker War coming up. She's like, the prices of like her. She's had first mention, first actual dialogue. but she has not had an actual like full view of who she is yet in the issues. And they have like 3 or 4 different firsts, so she's getting like big play right now and all that. So it'll be interesting. She's an interesting looking character. I'm not sure I really like her character, her design
Yeah.
well, but
So the Spider Woman, what brings this to our attention?
this was one of the first comics I ever collected.
Really?
Yep. Back in the day, you used to be able to get like a soft color mass market book, pocket book. It was done by Pocket Books, and you could get, you know, like it would have like the first 5 issues of Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, whatever, that in a mass market format, like a romance novel type thing. And that was one of the first ones I got. So I've always loved Spider-Woman as a character, and I hate that they redid her origin, because her origin was that she was bitten by she was dying. I think it was a spider she was bitten by, but her father started treatments on her, and then his partner becomes the character known as the High Evolutioner, and he keeps on over the years, keeps doing the same process on her, and then so when she comes out of it, she ends up being a Hydra, working for Hydra. She ends up breaking away from Hydra, and then when she's actually in London in these first issues, she lives in London, and she walks down the street even without her costume on, and people just move away from her, like they're just creeped out because the spider DNA that she has in it just makes everybody creeped out about her. And then she deals with like a lot of the mystical stuff. She fights Morgan Le Fay. They actually have Merlin as her mentor in the book and stuff like that.
So she's not like Peter Parker in any respect then, because I was always confused by this. Like,
yeah, no,
she's not Spider-Man woman type or
no,
something.
No, and that's what I really liked about her. They revamped her history later on, where they took out the whole High Evolutioner thing, which and they just made her part Hydra spy at the time, turned over. So, but I like the fact that I like the fact that she creeped people out, and she dealt with like some of these really. I mean, she had one villain called the Hangman. The Brothers Grimms were 2 of her other main villains. So I mean, she dealt with a lot of the just mystical arts and stuff powers. Like she's just got the Venom Blast and sticking. I mean, they show her robbing a store to get food at the very start because she doesn't have a job, because she can't get a job because everybody gets creeped out by her. So yeah, it was one of the first. This is one of the first comics I ever picked up. And obviously her costume is just iconic.
Yeah, it is. So what is her power set then?
She has super strength. She is able to stick to walls, and she glides, and then she has venom stings that she can shoot.
So not Spider-Man at all.
No,
really?
No.
That's funny. I was always confused by the character, and I think I was only familiar with her because a couple video games had her as a minor selectable here and there. That's pretty cool, man. So this is our first episode of doing this. Our intention here is to just get together, put up a thread like this, share artwork, and talk about it, and just kind of get away from the drama that's consumed so much of the indie stuff, and just talk about comics for a while. I think we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. We might have the most comic content of anyone in Comicsgate around here.
Well, I was. This is great because I'm like, this is the first time I've ever really actually heard Comicsgate people still collecting comics. A lot of the Comicsgate people now, they don't collect any Marvel or DC stuff.
Yeah, they don't want to support the big two anymore for whatever reason.
Because they think it's all social justice warrior stuff. But I'm like, there's some really good stuff being written nowadays. You know,
Dude, have you read Punisher Kill Crew?
I haven't. I'm not a Punisher.
Ah.
Well, okay, Pickles, let me stop you right there. See, we're going to go through the show, and we're going to find out if you're listening. Hopefully, part of the effect of the show will be you're going to hear about all sorts of comic books you may have missed.
Yeah.
So that's going to be probably the best thing to come out of this show. We're all going to find some hidden gems we might not have known about, and I think that'll be good for us too.
I got a lot of stuff I'd like to talk about.
Oh yeah, this is the first episode, guys, and we're gonna have to cut it a little short today because I kind of want to focus test a little bit, and I'm in the middle of a move myself. But I'm gonna go around the panel. Thank you guys for coming on to this first episode, and we're gonna keep going, and maybe we'll do this on the weekends too when we're want to just relax and stuff. And I'm gonna keep the thread up for a bit. If you guys saw the show and you want to add to it later, just remember what you added, and we'll bring you on for the next one. But let me everyone just give us some parting thoughts. And audience, if you have any suggestion for us, hit me up on Twitter and in the comments right now. So let's start with Kokles, Horatius Kokles. I'm sorry we didn't go longer with you, but we're just trying to figure out the show on its first episode.
No, that's fine. This is actually the first stream I've ever jumped on, and the first
thanks
time
a lot, man.
I've ever
That's
used
really
StreamYards.
awesome. Appreciate you
just
coming in.
some final thoughts. If you like that more traditional Batman of him being a detective as opposed to being a overpowered sort of superhero, definitely check out The Long Halloween. It's a great story, in my opinion.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, man. We got so hopefully people come back next week and we just keep talking about it and discovering stuff. MK Geiger, I know you haven't been here too long, but again, I'm really excited to get this thing off the ground. I think this episode will stand as the most comic content Comicsgate's had in a while. So the final thoughts from you, my friend.
I make if you like any of the stuff that we're talking about, make a list, take it to your local comic book store. They can order it from Diamond. That's the best way to do it. You can get the trades or the thing. Because at least I know some states have the comic book stores opening up and all that. If not, Amazon has a lot of it. So yeah, definitely.
Kenneth Brown has a quick question for you, Geiger. Does Spider-Man have Spider-Man also have pheromone powers?
That's kind of what the fear thing is.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, awesome, man. Pickles, man, you had some cool stuff on the Hulk.
Yeah, Hulk is one of my favorite characters in comic history, I guess you could say.
Yeah, me too, man.
People always say that the Hulk is like a one-trick pony, and that's not true.
Not at all.
There's so much potential there.
And Immortal Hulk proved that he's not a one-trick pony. When he put himself together after being split up, that was awesome.
Body horror, man.
Well, as well, though, because people say that the big two now, all their books are like shit. That's not true.
Right.
There's always been good books and there's always been bad books. Just don't let people tell you any different, and just check out the books that we talked about today.
Yeah, definitely. Check out the Immortal Hulk
and check out Vestry.
Yeah, check out. Pickles has a book called Vestry. But this is not going to be a promotion stream.
No, I know.
But if you guys want to promote with me, I'll definitely have whoever wants to come on, and we'll talk about your project solo. And I'm going to have Pickles and Shabby on for Vestry soon. Skinny, final thoughts from you, my friend.
Support your local comic shop.
I think that's agree on that.
You know what? For me, I want to. I'm glad for a lot of the stuff in Comicsgate, but I'm never going to give up Hulk. I'm never going to give up Batman. Long live the big two. They're institutions at this point. They'll come around. They'll stop with the SJW nonsense soon enough.
And like they said, they're still putting out a lot of great books too.
They are, man. So thanks everyone for being here. This is the first episode. Please hit us up with some suggestions in the same thread I got here. Let's develop this into something really cool. And I'm thinking we might spin this off and do like a who would win show too. If anyone wants to argue nerd stuff even further, go Goku versus Superman, something like that, maybe. And you guys can put manga in here too sometimes, but we would definitely want to focus on American comics, and that's mostly because I'm a weebo. So
See, that's what I always thought Comic Book Men, the television show, should have been, was them sitting around talking about like who can beat up who superpower wise. I didn't want to see their store. Talk about comics.
damn Skippy. All right, guys, this has been Jalapeno Milk. This was the Spinner Rack, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for coming in.
Cheerio.
Later.